every branch of human activity. And therefore, in our session, we concentrate on people, on the human capital, and we'll be glad to share our views on this. And I should say that the state pays a lot of attention to it. And one of the national projects is for the nearest 4 years is the project of human resources for digital economy, and a great number of initiatives of the state is included in this project. This project has been freshly approved, and we will be. It is going to get financial resources to be implemented, but now we are not talking about it. We will be talking more about the support to human resources by the state. Our section will consist of 3 parts. The first part will be as follows. We'll speak mostly to those companies which have already gone through digital transformation. They are in the digital sphere, mail, Yandex, in the financial sphere, Sberbank, and we'll ask our colleagues how they are living in this digital age and how they can cope with the problems. The second part will be about those industries which are about to enter digital information, like oil and gas industry, atom energy, and state administration. And at the end of this event, we will make a quick survey about the future generation, about the school children. We'll touch upon this. So now we are starting with digital companies. Colleagues, in the latest years, we have often heard that you are suffering from a shortage of programmers. You have a shortage 1 million people, and now the state. More of them are educated, not on 20 million, but 40 million. Please tell us what needs do you have, what problems do you have, and how do you cope with them? I would like to give the floor to Vladimir Gabrielian, Vice President of the Mail Group. First of all, I would like to say that Russia is a relatively advanced country in the IT field as compared to European countries within the limits of the world space. We are a country of a well-developed IT business. The reason for this is, in fact, the education which we had in the Soviet Union afterwards. All those companies which now exist and are feeling okay are the results of those educational programs, first of all technical and mathematical, which existed and continue to exist, which exist in the past in this country. And as regards the needs of the industry today, yes, we do have a shortage, not just a shortage of human resources who work directly in the IT sphere, but also there is a huge shortage of para-IT personnel. As you understand, in every IT business, there are market researchers, there are sellers, designers who could hardly be considered IT specialists proper, but still they have their specific features, and we have a shortage of not just programmers or IT engineers, but also other para-IT personnel. We see this problem as follows. We are trying to train specialists ourselves. We cooperate with 7 leading universities of the country. We educate about 3,500 people every year, but it's not enough, and I would like to say that the number of IT specialists should be increased. The number of IT specialists which are educated in our universities. Unfortunately, or perhaps unfortunately, in future, the main consumer of IT specialists will not be IT companies. The main consumers will be classical industries, which, whether they want it or not, will come to the stage of digitalization, and if now in the IT or internet companies they look like people working for the future tomorrow, and I don't mean in 10 years, I mean tomorrow, all of these skills and knowledge will be in demand in all the spheres of our life, from retail to oil chemistry or any classical industry where IT is not very much used. And my biggest fear is that when the demand for IT specialists will grow very seriously, very dramatically, we might prove unable to saturate the market with such specialists. For nowadays, there are already not enough people ready to work for IT companies or other companies who need IT specialists. And there's also the problem of brain drain of our specialists going abroad. And can you give us some approximate figures? How many people work for you? How many people do you recruit? What is the average salary? Just for the audience to understand what sort of specialists are in demand. Only in Mail.ru Group, more than 6,000 people work, and their average salary is around 120,000 rubles. As for people whom we lack, well, it is easier for me to say which professions we do not have in our company, because in order to produce any product, IT product, you need engineers, programmers, data scientists, you need writers to make a good game, you need script writers, you need artists, you need people who can produce gadgets, and gadgets are not just engineering, it's also design, its look. So there are a lot of specializations, a lot of professions which we do not regard as IT specializations, but in reality these are people who are very much concerned with IT technologies, and in the near future, no matter what you are, a doctor, a chemist, or whatever, you cannot effectively work without IT competences, because the whole world is being transformed in such a way that even outside IT professions you need IT competences. And did you have to stop any project because of shortage of personnel? Not only to stop, but also refrain from launching. There are a number of projects which we have not launched because we do not have the necessary personnel. We are waiting for our specialists which are under training to finish their training, or we are waiting for a university to put on the market some new specialists. So our business does not need a lot of machinery. It needs mostly people, and it's all built on their knowledge and skills. And the only thing which might make an IT company not competitive is to deprive it of deprive it of personnel. Now I would like to give the floor to Ilya Zaleski, the head of the education services of Yandex. And Yandex is working very much in this field. It is even buying part of the Microsoft company. It has an experience in working with international companies. Is it because you lack personnel, or why? I think I should say that the history of Yandex in the field of recruitment is quite long. 10 years ago, we started the first data school. It was the first attempt by Yandex to go and work in the field of education. And since that time, we have developed our cooperation with universities. And 10 years ago, we were the pioneers in this field, and it was difficult to make people understand what we are doing. And now the situation is quite different. It has become much more complicated. As for the labor market, in IT, it is quite global, and people regularly leave us and go abroad, and we try to keep contacts with abroad in order to exchange competences, to share our competences, and to acquire the best practice of the world. For example, a few years ago, we understood that it was necessary for us to provide education programs for foreign audiences in order to make ourselves known and to share our. Together with the Corsair, we have prepared an international course on machine learning, and many people write in comments, it is a wonderful course. After it, I started working for Google. Of course, it makes us a bit sad, but on the other hand, it makes us happy that we have produced content which helps people to become capable of working for any famous company in the world. Our own education covers a lot of our needs, but not 100%. If there had been more people in the market with high competence, we would have hired them. But unfortunately, there are market limitations, and we feel them. Thank you very much. And I would like to ask Yulia Chupina, who represents Sberbank here, who for the latest several years has analyzed, has positioned Sberbank as an IT company. She has produced a furore on the market when she introduced the Sbertech. Yulia, can you tell us this transformation from an ordinary bank to an IT company? How was it really according to your plans, or did you plan these activities? And what difficulties did you encounter, and how the situation is now? Whether is it good or bad? I mean, the situation with the personnel, with human resources on the market. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. I would like to tell people who are standing at the back, there is one seat. I would like to invite a girl. Come and sit. Although, there is a name table there, a name card there, but the person of this name is sitting in a different place. Well, I don't like very much the term IT company very much because it's too narrow. We prefer the term technological company. And those who have read our strategy, they know another term, ecosystem, when essentially what we do is go out of the go beyond IT services. We offer other businesses which are connected with the services, meeting the needs of the customers, which we believe are not yet sufficiently satisfied. And I believe that it is an error to talk about banks as about non-technological companies, because in banks, besides people and computers, there are only walls and a little paper. And we produce less and less paper every year, because IT technologies and the banking business have always been very technological. In the past, we used to buy a lot of software and did a lot of outsourcing of IT projects, but as you have rightly said, we are lucky to have understood that how the world was developing, that is, that more people appeared who would produce products and offer them to the whole country. Please raise your hands, those who use Sberbank Online. It is this shows what we are doing. I can tell you something that you would like. These things make our country much more modern. Just a few years ago, we used mostly cash, and now over 60% of operations of transactions are in cash, and we have 60 million customers who use Sberbank Online. That is of 100 million customers. So digitalization is going on quickly. So people stopped saying that we had IT departments and business departments and that different people were needed for them. As you know, 3 years ago, we understood that the modern way of working, which is used in Yandex and in Mail and in Google and in other native internet and IT companies, is when a team is formed of people who understand business, risks, marketing, sales, and code writing, and they together make a product that we all use as customers. In connection with that, I would like to say that we need people who can write good codes, and we know all know how great the shortage of such people is. Everybody understands that there is a big shortage of people who can do Java codes, who can do internet management of digital products, etc. Speaking globally, we believe that a person in the modern world must understand three things: business, digital skills, and third, which is necessary, are soft skills. So if you follow the development of education in Singapore, which is one of the education leaders, they are called core skills. And if you have seen the recently reposted video by Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba, he says that schools should stop putting into people's heads knowledge which we can find on Yandex, and they should teach soft skills. In our education, nobody asks a student, what do you want? And this simple question increases the quality of studying by 20%. If the teacher asks it regularly, and if the teacher asks it in the right way. And he says that all the knowledge will be taken up by machines, and people will need only understanding themselves, the feelings of other people, teamwork, collaboration, emotional intellect, the ability to manage their energy, stress, to understand where fake news is and where the authentic news is, which things are common sense and which things are not common sense. And we would say that besides the shortage of good IT specialists, we have to give them additional teaching of business and software. You know, most IT people are introverted. In order for them to communicate successfully with business, they need to be taught to communicate. So our corporate university every year teaches 35,000 managers one level of those soft skills, because they should understand not just marketing. They must also understand what is base data skills, digital skills, and many of them need soft skills. All IT specialists need business skills and soft skills, and we keep teaching them because the question what soft skills are is not a very easy question. If you ask the three of us what it is, we might give different answers, each of us. On the one hand, it is it makes us happy that we can do this, that we educate people ourselves, and we try in all possible ways to cooperate in educating people with universities. And so we have launched 2 initiatives which we believe are fundamental to make Russia a fundamental competitive leader country, and our education will determine where we will be in 20, 30, 50 years, and therefore we have made the Contribution to the Future Foundation, where we retrain teachers and invite people to become teachers, those people who would not have done it themselves. And we will also make retraining of people who are near pension age. And I think that among those people, we have quite a lot of mature people who could teach our children. And we also have content management. We help students to learn certain things themselves, so that there should be no lessons, and so that the teacher would not give lessons but do project work and look into the eyes of the student. Nowadays, out of 45 minutes of lessons, a child is learning only for 7 minutes. There is a lot of functional illiteracy, so we should restructure our schools to meet the needs of the new economy, and also professional orientation of students of senior forms of schools. And nowadays, schools physically cannot give enough IT specialists to us, and the demand will continue. There will be more and more demand for IT specialists on the market. Last year, we launched School 21 based on the example of School 42 in Paris, which teaches in a totally different way. It teaches programming and IT architecture building. We are thinking of opening such schools in other cities, not only in Moscow, and so they will go to work will work not only for our company but everywhere. And the third thing that we would like to do is a retraining of people. We are doing it not just for our people but also for those people who are leaving us. We cooperate with our partners so that they could get human resources from us, and I think it is very important also to retrain older people. Thank you very much. It is clear that there is a shortage of specialists and that you have to liquidate it yourselves on your own, putting an emphasis that new competences are needed, soft skills are needed, which unfortunately have to be taught anew. We will discuss the problems related to school later in greater detail. You have said that there is a shortage of Java specialists. But are you ready to employ 1,000 Java specialists on the market, and what will you pay to them? So let us, in order for us to understand that these are highly qualified, highly skilled specialists. You know, it is one of the most liquid markets in the world. And there we see the following. The salary is a factor which sets in a balance between demand and supply. Well, I'm asking just approximately. Well, approximately you have heard already, and I think that those companies which are here, if 1,000 good programmers will come on the market tomorrow, we will take them immediately on. We have 25,000 programmers, and I always fighting against my recruiting service because these specialists come and go. This is a living market, and we just talk. We keep talking. How can we find them? How can we keep them? All the projects that are made by Yandex, by Mail, and by us are very interesting. So our specialists have a lot of offers, job offers. And I would like to give the floor to Maria Alexandrovna Borovskaya, Deputy Minister of Science and Higher Education of the Russian Federation. We have just spoken with the companies which are producing digital economy in this country. We are saying that the companies cannot move forward because they experience a shortage of workers, and they are ready to pay money which is much higher than the average salary in the country. Our average an average salary of a programmer in Russia is 90,000 rubles, and the colleagues take on more qualified and pay them well over 100,000 rubles. So I would like to ask what initiatives there are in this field. Thank you very much. It is wonderful that we are having this discussion today because, of course, the understanding of how comfortable every person feels in this system of big data with the transformation of the technological structure.
And so a person merges into that system. We really would like to have these people getting some core excellences a bit earlier. Let me remind some of you present in this room when an accent was made at school on some professional guidance, and it resulted in the fact that these people chose that profession, a very interesting one. They tried not only to master the skills, but they realize now that they have to make kind of personal upgrades, whereas competences and requirements and demands would update, and now there is an opportunity to get retrained and to get updated. These technologies have to be raised to the public level, to the country level, as far as moving to a new technological track would require a mass transition for all of us, because setting up a new digital system will not work if each and every user does not understand the success and the objectives of this immersion. So it means that these are not only the high-tech companies and digital companies we have to move towards the digital economy, but the digital universities have to move there, and schools have to do that. So altogether, the companies have to do that. Each and every user have to understand their role in that system. I do believe that this was a very good message made by Julia. The system of national projects which are enforced now and which we are implementing starting from 2019. There would be a federal project which will allow us to provide education for everyone through the extracurricular education and the vocational education. I hope that it will also be true of the professional guidance provided to everyone to raise public awareness of the new technologies. Digital economy, this is a new and very important project. We understand that the personnel for the new economy, not only the staff, but also the users, have to be trained. Unfortunately, the shortage of the personnel still exists. Not always the people, in all the cases, are opting for programming as their specialty, which would be in demand in future. This is just like the sports of records. Training programmers would require high skills, top skills, and therefore when we do analyze the readiness of school children and undergrads for this world, we see that programming is their most favorite class, but in grade 11, a lot of such children would lose their interest to that subject. We can make some analysis why this happens, but still we would like to somehow drive this problem into the realm of our partners. The senior classes, school children, have to be more curious for those high-tech problems when working with the projects with the school children, and hopefully this project would be a success. Second part is that we are looking at the broader groups of specialities, because this is a subject matter for discussion, but we understand that not all the groups are capable of making sure that 120,000 school leavers are ready for the world of the high technologies in order to change the technological mindset. We need partners in the sense of technological partners who are ready to partner, to cooperate with us. We would need those partners who would analyze the existing system and would ask to fine-tune what is available at the market of knowledge and competences. In that case, you cannot demand from the labor market anything, so no longer this exists. We'd like to see this dialogue taking place, not at a stage when you already hired this school leaver or this graduate and you are restructuring and reshaping him, but such a dialogue should take place much earlier. When training specialists in IT, let me note a 2-year-long trend. 3 or 5 years ago, the agreement, so the paid programming classes were opted for by quite few people, but now actually there are more and more people who are ready to pay for a programming background. So it means that business sees demand for programming, and that's why in the nearest future we'll probably come to terms. But educational programs also should have certain blocks which can be upgraded and fine-tuned, bear in mind your demand. Thank you so much. Oksana, did I hear it right that first of all we see the rise in the public procurement, public order, up to 120,000 new specialists would be needed, and secondly, you invite technological companies to join you as partners in order to improve the quality of the specialists. Well, for the companies which are present here on the panel, for them this dialogue already is on. They know and understand it. I would like to see this dialogue be broader, expanding. About 140 universities are providing such a training, but in addition, about 300 universities and schools are participating in that training, but not providing the core competences. They're guided by the user demands, network administrators, etc. So it means that we invite all the technological companies to pay attention to this tendency. We welcome everyone, so let me respond to this your message. We are ready, and take my word. At one of the first management board meetings of Sberbank this year, we agreed with Mr. Greff that we will suggest to the Ministry of Education to expand our cooperation, to deepen it. We are ready to discuss it with the universities to help to fine-tune and reshape their curriculum and work with the professors in order to improve the quality of the credits so that people are more prepared for working with Sberbank and other leading companies of the country. I do think that that's a very good message, because now you understand that through the public orders, public procurement, and public investments into the curricula, we are contributing to the evolution of the companies you are from. We are ready to make this financial and quality contribution and ready to improve it. This dialogue with different administrations, authorities, corporations, and companies should take place, and we rely on that very much. So I do hope that through that dialogue we'll manage to reduce the existing shortage. So let us speak about the shortage of the future. Digital technologies do exist not only in the digital sphere. Digitalization penetrates into all the spheres of the human life. For instance, on the agenda you may find digitalization of transportation, of agriculture, of healthcare. Presidential decree also provides for digitalization of the social sphere, education, agriculture, construction, urban environment, financial services have to be improved by means of the digitalization. So it means that there is a big lump of work still ahead of us. The analog economy should be moved to the digital space. And before I pass the floor to the leading companies representatives who will share their experience, I would like to ask Konstantin Polunev from BCG company to share the scale of digitalization which awaits us. Thank you so much. Let me stand up. My name is Konstantin Polunev. I'm partner of BCG. This is a global company which is doing digitalization on its own. We are working in all the countries with the clients and businesses and with the banks and in all those branches and industries. Certainly, as a company, we have to take advantage of that trend of digitalization, and we see the advantages and disadvantages, including the shortage of the personnel. We're planning our business too, so how this problem manifests in our case as a global company. Let me say that we are hunting for talents everywhere. Each of our employees has to do some training, so it means that, for instance, we move from Excel to ITEX. Thirdly, as far as we're speaking about innovative business models, how it has to be done, not only about the technologies, we have to master new methods such as USI, Agile, etc., etc. We have to master that, and we have to master that faster than our business partners or counter-agents do, otherwise we'll just lose our business. So what happens next? What happens next? You see, all the companies, all the stakeholders in the economy see the following process. Sooner or later, all the companies start some transformation under the pressure of certain factors, such as regulation, change in the behavior of the consumers, new technologies emerge, and all those trends focusing on urbanization, etc. So the companies see that they have to do something, so they start transformation. Good news is that 1/3 of all the companies survive and win in these circumstances. 2/3 of the companies which launch transformation either have to stagnate or are taken over or have to leave the market. One of the factors which determines the future of the companies, this is about the investments into the future of the corporate industry. This is not just a myth, this is not a hype, this is not wishful thinking. A lot has been done there. Big money is being earned there. And 7 out of 10 companies, these are the leaders of the digitalization. 10 years ago, there's only one company which focused on digitalization. So what happens? No one knows what digital maturity is and where to go, what objectives to set. So there is now a clear-cut notion. So the state has its own notion, its own definition. Companies have different approach, and people have a totally different approach to digitalization. What differs leaders from non-leaders or from the backbenchers? So we have our own index, which allows us to determine this maturity. We looked at 1,600 companies from different industries, and we do some measurements. So these are my figures. Not surprisingly that the leaders of digitalization, how do we measure leadership? So the stake in the market or share of the market, time to market, how much they're going to invest into people, and sustainability, the vulnerability to shocks, whether the company is ready to develop. So the leaders are the following. So they are the ones who are attributable to automobile, banks, and telecommunications. So the medium are the ones, the healthcare and other companies, and oil and gas are the backbenchers because they focus on the technologies and they are not dealing with the consumers. And that's why utilities, which deal with the consumers, have to digitalize much faster. So they must answer the question what they do, what differs backbenchers from the leaders. 5% of OPEX is being spent on the digital experiments. More than 10% of people in such companies have some digital competences in addition to what they have to do on an everyday basis, and have some roles and models, meaning that you have a conventional business, you have a digital business at a macro level, what they do. 10% of the capitalization in such companies is invested into the venture capital in order to generate 20% of the revenues. Why this happens? We have such a notion. We keep speaking about education, digital education, non-digital education. There is such a notion which is called self-training or self-educational organizations. So it works like that. So an organization accumulates certain experience, then it is being translated into something else. So Ford model in the 20th century cut its cost 25% when it doubled its output. So that was the business model. This is how it conquered the market. Then later on, it started changing. Another story emerged, which is called capability of the organization to bring new products to the market faster than the competitors do. It results in the fact that, in essence, you move from one curve to another curve. So these 20% of the additional revenue that you gain, this is your competitive edge, and I will get back to where Russia is, so let me speed up. So what happens here? That's the third stage, related to the fact that we see more and more often that we have two horizons of the company's life. So the current one or 2 years in front of us, and a mid-term horizon, 5 to 7 years. So the operating activity becomes more efficient if you take a decision based on the time-tested algorithms. So such algorithms work better than the men do. So this is a tribute to the artificial intelligence. But in the midterm perspective, we see that we need talents who are ready to react to the changes in the market in order to somehow adapt the company for the market situation. So the experience curve of the self-trained or self-educated organization becomes more and more independent. So there's a drive which determines the strategy, and there are people around that who are ready to optimize the products, who are ready to streamline the processes. Fashion, for instance, which is clear for everyone. So we looked at 60 companies, the main brands starting from luxury and ending with mass market, just to illustrate my case. It turns out that 25% of the revenue is done by online shopping. Chanel or whatever, or Gucci, or other luxury brands, Gloria Jeans, for instance, is being sold online. So it means that they are selling only those products which have real-time interaction with the consumer and personalization or targeting or tailoring. Otherwise, people would opt for a different product. So it means that the companies have to actually follow that trend. Russia follows that trend. If we look at the digital economy, and we follow the same patterns which are relevant for the rest of the world in terms of the industries and states, apart from the fact that we see an advanced pace of the consumption and satisfaction with the public services or civil services. So we are more satisfied with the public services than we do with the banking services. So I'm not speaking about bank online or something like that. So that's the good news. The bad news is that we are a net exporter of people. That's the most awful thing out of what is going on. So 100 stories which we see there, we are exporting that. And actually what you seed, you will reap. Somehow it will affect our life and future. So for the people, it necessitates continuous education. So, and for the companies, if you see shortage of people, then probably you will actually find yourself among two-thirds of the companies which didn't manage to survive. In all the spheres which already done some transformation, banking sphere, etc., I understand that all our products are at a top-notch level. The spheres which are thinking about undergoing some transformation. So a lot would depend on how they address this issue. So let us talk about that with the companies not from the IT sphere. So let's start with Rosatom. Catherine Sontseva has become the Digitalisation Director. So even a year and a half ago, her position looked very exotic. Now it's quite logical. Ms. Sontseva, tell us how Rosatom is moving to the digital. Initially, it was not ready to adapt for the digital technologies. What happens now? Thank you so much. Thank you, Eugen, for this your question. Thank you for the invitation. Really, to some extent, I'm double-faceted, meaning that for 20 years I worked for a digital company, technological company. I used for Yandex, for AB, and even worked for some publishers. And for 18 months I'm working for Rosatom. Just in order to make the discussion more lively, so let us disagree with your original message that there are companies which have already undergone digital transformation, others do not do that so well. This is not true. Digital transformation is something final. This is a continuous and endless process. And it follows a spiral pattern. And really, we can speak about certain stages of that process. As a company, as an international company, I am not sure whether you know or not. Let me explain. Rosatom is building more nuclear power plants than anyone else does all over the world, and certainly we are hunting for talents everywhere, and we are keeping track of what is going on at the global market. Do you know that the very notion of digital transformation has become a buzzword? So there are books and articles published on that subject. There is even a book which says that digital transformation is no longer a buzzword, so this is an obsolete notion. So we have AI transformation, artificial intelligence and transformation. This is the current trend. This is another spiral when we not only digitalize everything, and I'm a fan of Sberbank online system, but when we're speaking about, this is very convenient, thank you so much, Sberbank. But now, the computers and robots do not do the automatic work, but they are replacing simple thinking processes. And I cannot agree, I cannot but disagree as an IT person, which I'm not sure about Rosatom, because Rosatom covers the full spectrum from production or mining to engineering, construction not only of NPPs, nuclear power plants. There are certain elements of the construction which is about building a port and a railway. So meaning some auxiliary elements which are being built. So this is about the construction expertise and commissioning and decommissioning of the NPPs. I may tell you that the main business of Rosatom is being digitalized better than in any other industry. Well, I will answer a question about the digital transformations, but let us get back to the subject. Let's speak about competences and people. What is needed so that the processes go forward faster? Thank you for a reminder. You just took it from my lips, took it from my tongue. How do we see this current stage of the digital transformation? Last year, we built up a single digital strategy of Rosatom. Why this is a kind of hallmark event? Because Rosatom, this is not a company, this is a whole industry. That's why it's very difficult to bring together all the digital activities within Rosatom to structure that. And it was a real challenge. Actually, a lot of experts been invited from IT market. A very serious team was invited from. I do think that we actually got almost all the smart IT engineers. We even snatched some professionals from Sberbank. Actually, our system is made of three directions. Digitalization of Rosatom. Rosatom participates or contributes to the digitalization of the country. We are a center of competence for certain technologies. The third case, quite unexpected thing, is the product-based scenario. Digital technologies are quite new for Rosatom, but you may see certain products which Rosatom developed for itself, for its own use, proceeding from the features of the industry. Not always we could take out of the box, off-the-shelf products. So since 1990s, a whole team of software developers and programmers is quite numerous. We hire more than 1,000 people. In order to implement that, the digital technology has two streams. The first stream, the first block of programs, is the one aimed at organizational changes, and the second stream is about developing skills and technologies and competences, and this makes a very important part of our digital strategy. So we find it easier to deal with because not only we cooperate with the Ministry of Education, we have our own core universities. For instance, I'm a member of Moscow Institute of Physics and Engineering Supervisory Board, and we have a special strategy, and it is updated every year. So we focus on digitalization of our education, system of education, and of our personnel too. What we'll look at first and foremost, we understand that it will touch upon everyone, it will concern everyone. It is not that actually a certain percentage of the people, certain number of people within an organization has to do something digital, but this is mandatory for everyone, starting from top managers who we invite for strategic sessions or certain seminars or workshops. Certainly, we provide training for IT specialists and programmers, but also other specialities, other professions have to go digital. This is a very important thing. And thirdly, we have to digitalize the educational tools themselves. We are interacting with the core universities in that sense, but at the same time we have our own Rosatom University, which is responsible for the educational block within the digital strategy. We understand that this process is eternal, is endless, or unlimited, and sometimes I'm asked for how long your strategy is developed. Actually, that's once and forever, but at the same time, it was set for a certain period of time. So we have a long-term strategy until 2030 plus. Until 2024, within the public programs, we will have certain objectives put forward, then a roadmap for the near future, and starting from 2019, we have a year-long roadmap, or quarterly roadmap, and everything related to people, to their personnel, as I said, is quite pivotal. We understand that it implies some social responsibility. We have 27 cities. We are operational in 27 cities. Actually, 10 of them are secret ones, and meaning that the mayor has been appointed by the CEO. And there are 15 single employer cities where our company is the only one. And that's why we have to dwell on the social sphere, education of the residents of the city. So there are our employees who are living there, and there are their family members. So we have to take care of the kindergarten, schools, etc. You said that you have to train all the employees of the company in digital skills. How do you do that? Do you have your own professors or teachers, or you cooperate with the public structures? So we do both. We have in-house teachers and educational structures, such as Rosatom University, and we have some outside schools. We're working with MIFI, or Moscow Institute of Physics and Engineering, so we are contributing to the change in the systemic approach. We have signed an agreement with Institute of Physics and Technologies. We are open for any cooperation. We do believe that all the vertical walls or holes, this is something which has to disappear in the digital economy, because the data cannot exist in a silo. You cannot build a data economy of a data if it is used as a silo.
That was my answer to your to what you have said. You know, we have divided our company by a very simple principle. Those who are doing the business, the companies, sorry, in there are some who are doing business on data, on platform and data, and the third one which have not yet organized this business. So the process of digital transformation must end with the appearance of certain platform solutions which allow a great number of people to get services in the relevant sphere. So we specify the notion of digital economy by calling it data economy. And with your permission, let's go on. Now, I think 2 or 3 years ago, we couldn't think that we might invite to such a section or such a panel the oil and gas company Gazprom-Neft, but it has become very advanced in digitalization. In fact, it rushed into the digitalization race. And so I would like to ask Nikolai Dolgov, head of the Department of Development and Personnel Training of the Personnel Department of Gazprom-Neft, to speak. I would support Ekaterina by saying that digital transformation is not our future but our present. It is the environment in which we are doing our business. And in this field, we often encounter such stereotypes connected with oil, with the oil industry. People say, why do they need digital people? They need just ordinary workers who would pump the oil in Siberia or in the far north. But that's very far removed from the truth for several reasons. The first reason is that we use data, not only those data which are connected with customers' behavior, like many IT companies or banks do, but we also use data connected with the functioning of complex natural and technological systems. We have such project as Cognitive Geologist, which helps us to take complex decisions without expensive nature-based tests in order to understand how much oil can be taken from this or that well. Besides, we also have programs. We work from the well till putting the oil on various ships or into pipelines, etc. And we have also 1,800 petrol stations. And at every filling station we have a coffee shop, so the Starbucks. So we have 1,800 coffee shops. And last year we increased our coffee profits twice, achieving 3 billion rubles. So we have more coffee shops than Starbucks, by the way. And we have managed to do this by uniting all the coffee machines, vending machines, coffee machines and vending machines to one network, and help. And when we do something like this about oil processing plants or with non-extractable resources where we have to take a lot of very difficult and complex decisions connected with chemistry, physics, etc. So by way of summing up, I would say that for us, digital information, working with data, is absolutely necessary, is vital, and not only for economic but also for security factors. It is digitalization that makes it possible to take people out of the most dangerous places where they are in the industry, so we can prevent accidents and deaths. And that's why it is so important for us. And as regards our competition with highly technological companies on the recruitment market, oh yes, we do look for personnel. We cooperate with many universities. About 25. We have joint programs with about 25 universities, where our experts are included as teachers, and we have our chairs. But lately we have begun thinking about the following things. Why? The only approach is running about looking for these people. Let us provide opportunities that would attract such people from all over the country. Let us create interesting and comfortable working conditions and exciting tasks for them, so that would change their idea for the work in the oil industry and motivate them, encourage them to work with us on a permanent basis. This helps us to change the culture of the company, because digital transformation is impossible without cultural transformation. It is another approach to business models and business processes. And changing the culture of such a huge company like ours cannot be done in a minute. You need to do it by degrees, installing certain points which will begin this change. Or we can use also collaboration. We can widen the limits of the company and show our people that things may be done differently, that it is not necessary to wear a suit and a tie to the office, that this is not the most important thing. So we have been working very actively in the field of encouraging professionals 4.0 to come and work for us. We collaborate with them. The idea is to open up for the market, to show the business objectives which we are ready to resolve using outside talent, and give outside talents a chance to get involved in such interesting work that we can offer them. And here I talk not only about students but also about school children. Professional orientation is best taught not in theory but by doing real objectives, solving real or attaining real objectives, so that people would understand what they can do and what they cannot yet do, and what they have to learn, how they should develop. Our ambition is to create a platform which would allow not only to attain business objectives that we have inside our company, but also to allow talents in the country to better understand themselves and to develop their skills in the process of attaining business objectives, and that they should see that there are interesting opportunities in the country, that they do not need to go abroad in order to get self-realization. Yes, you're quite right about culture. And how can you combine classical culture? We always see your people in suits and ties, and you now have people who have never worn a tie in their life. So, can you have any recommendations? Can you give us any life hacks to solve this problem? You know, our Director General Alexander Valerievich Zhukov has stopped wearing a tie for the latest year. It is a small thing, but for a company with state participation, such an example by its head is a serious signal showing that the company is changing. And we have introduced a program of cultural transformation. We have made a new list of values, and that helps people to get innovative, and it affects our policy, whom we recruit, whom we promote, whom we pay more, etc. That shows how to be more effective and efficient. And the third specific example, less than 6 months ago, we opened a new office of the House of Innovation in St. Petersburg. It is an experimental platform. It is very different by its design. It has no office or rooms. It has large open spaces. There are different zones for team work and individual work. And last year, we conducted inside that office, not in a separate room, but inside, a hackathon for students. We brought together over 40 people from various cities. It was not just only our participation, but also Sibur. And so they worked to attain real business objectives. They worked inside our office without walls, without doors, with electronic passes. And for them it was surprising. They did not know that it was possible that in a company which is part of Gazprom, such things are done. And for our teams, for our project teams, it has been a very interesting event which helped them to develop. They have seen that university students could help them to attain their objectives. Now I would like to give the floor to Marina Shkleruk. Please tell us what you think about the digital transformation of state administration. The scale of training of necessary specialists there is about 1 million people, and Marina for the latest 6 months has been working in retraining of federal and regional functionaries. Marina, you are very deeply involved with this subject. You understand the scale of the disaster. So how are you going to resolve this issue? And if Gazprom, Yandex can pay 120,000 rubles to an IT specialist per month, but the state is not ready to do this. So how can you go about the digital transformation, and whom are you going to train? Well, let me be honest. Before this panel, I somehow was a bit sad about state functionaries because they were not following the actual trends. But I heard things which I have heard here back in 2016. Things that you are talking about does not concern people. But the key thing is people. When we were preparing for state platform, please give me 10 reasons, so give me 10 problems that you have. And I said, people, and the rest people said, you may skip the other 9. So the main problem is people, and of course, we have a crisis in education, and crisis is not only in students but also in teachers. Next year, or this year rather, I am to train 13,500 state functionaries. Last year, with the help of Yandex, Sberbank, and Sibu, we find some Russian integrators who helped us, and we, teachers of the academy, brought everybody from the market, and then we managed to do something. But where can we find teachers for 13,500 people? We have been teaching from 9 in the morning till 9 in the evening, and it's a big problem because you need to give the content to teachers. And where can I find 10 people like this who would say, who will give a good lecture? And these problems are really a very big challenge. Besides School 21, you should establish a school for retraining teachers, teachers who can moderate. It is one of the most difficult skills. We will get together with the Ministry of Science, and the main salaries, the main money spent there is not only teachers but also on moderators. When we put together the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Digitalisation, Ministry of Health, and the Office of the Prosecutor General, I need the moderator to keep the discussion within the constructive limits. For example, we teach ethics. We have erased the records of the discussion, because if it had leaked to the media, it would have been a problem, because there was a very severe criticism of state policy, and people people had to be had suffered a shock. For some, needed 4 hours to get to the normal to the normal state. You know, people asked if an old woman had no money to pay for heating, and so she died at home because the home was not heated. Is it a murder or not murder from the ethic point of view? You know, there are a lot of discussions in the West about ethics. And now, and here in this country, very few people are capable of talking about ethics. You know, soft skills, administrative skills, etc., are not so difficult to be taught. You are looking at me like this, but the first thing that we did was to write an ethics code. But you know, an ethics code for state functionaries is a political decision. And this is something which must be adopted at the level of the Prime Minister. How people should act at different levels, because there are many different situations in which there is no one single correct answer. And so I think that we should talk about this. And the next part, which regards the state administration itself, and that's also a problem. As someone who is responsible for training administrative personnel, I have brought figures, but unfortunately I have only aggregated figures as just like the average indices for the hospital. But nonetheless, according to Rosstat, the average salary of an administrative personnel is 46,000 rubles, and for IT personnel it's 174,000. I don't know where can you find a programmer for 120,000 per month. Now we have the difference between a recruiting specialist, 54,000 rubles, and IT a specialist in this field gets 200,000 rubles per month. And so people tell us you can create something else in this field, but there will be no normal digital transformation or digital change if the culture is not changed, if people inside are not changed. And it means that we should stop doing something to state corporations, etc. The state service must change, totally change should change its policy. Our state service is still based on Weber's principles, but we should understand that state service is not something for life. It's not a lifetime job. And people should change. We say that people should change 10 professions during their lives. But here it should be also like this. We don't know. Perhaps somebody will work for life. Well, we say that there are 110,000 people in the pension fund, and we should say perhaps they should stop counting the pensions, because they should count algorithms. And of course, functionaries do not like such talks, but they don't want to be fired. But we should not regard firing as death. People should be ready for change, ready to be retrained, ready to enter the market. And so there should be people. People have been talking about retraining elderly people or middle-aged people, but is it possible to retrain state functionaries, but let us cut 200,000 jobs in the state administration, but let's retrain such persons so that it would be a very big that would be a very big impact on the market, like with security guards, which we have more than 1 million in the country. So this is the key problem here, because to start changes and to conduct them inside is to change the whole system, the whole functional. We should say what the state should do and what it shouldn't do. Perhaps we should reduce the number of controlling functions and perhaps solve the ethical problems which appear here. And we should get ready to answer those challenges that will appear. We all understand that digital economy in 2024, half of what's written in the project will not be there. If you do correctly some steps during these 3 years, with education things are more difficult. In 2 or 3 years, we will go to a different stage, a different step, where we will have to review everything. And what do the functionaries lack? I think here we have a new problem, which we have discovered when we started working in the IT. Well, the problem is that all this fashion for project management, all those programs have not been changed. Every year we have 80% people in the audience who have never attended any education program for the latest 6 or 7 years. We wanted to do something more about the data, about the technology, but we have to change this program of basic knowledge, and we have to teach people to know what is DevOps and the version table, etc., etc. So I think as the Academy, with the help of everybody who is helping us, in fact, one of the best lectures was the lecture given by Sibur. But we cannot invite Sibur every time. I think somebody must be taught to speak about the Sibur experience, and it is, of course, very important that it is the Sibur lecture gives a lot of cases of transformation, which is very important. When we try to calculate the minimum amount of knowledge for every functionary, we have counted at least 8 main areas, and each of which could be developed into a big university curriculum. Half of people with whom we have to work are ready for that, and I think if 60% of people are transformed, then it will be enough, and the remaining might find some other jobs on the market. Yes, thank you very much. You have said a very important thing, that we have changed something inside the organization. We need people for this process to progress. And that's why I wanted to hear from the Prime Minister, from Akimov, and from the President, how they are going to resolve the problem of digitalization in view of the difference in salaries. Well, you have spoken about the shortage of teachers, which you have seen. And so we need to train the first and the second and the third batch of leaders. So what can we achieve within 1 year? Well, now we have to train the highest level of hierarchy, 350 leaders of 1,000 leaders of the country, 1,150 of regions and federal functionaries will mix themselves under the guidance of superior personnel, and about 8,000 to 9,000 reserve will give a 3-day module and also online. On the one hand, we have the position of the Ministry of Digitalisation. That everything that will be done with the budget money will be available to everybody, every citizen of Russia. On the other hand, possibly, we will use the ISUK's personnel platform. Well, we hope that in 6 years we will achieve the number of 170,000. I hope that some mechanism will allow us to reach bigger heights, because now the demand for such programs is higher than what we can offer. You have spoken about the dialogue with business, and how useful has it been? Well, if I had just mentioned, I have mentioned the main companies, Sberbank, Sibur, Yandex, and Systema Jet. We wouldn't have been able to do this course in this situation. After that, we need to do something ourselves. There have been top-level people, and not inside their organizations. It's not everybody that can tell about that. When we speak about at the level of the regional minister, then the head of the personnel department of Sibur should come, otherwise it would be impossible. Colleagues, we have already gone through the second block. We have not spoken about the digitalization of transport and health, but the state administration has shown the scale of hundreds of thousands of people. And what should we do with all that? Because the gap is growing, and it will keep growing. I think there should be some ways connected with requalification, improvement of qualification. Can you share your ideas about the ways to resolve this problem? You know, our panel today has a classical way of discussion. We speak about prospects, then we say that there are no people to do that, and later we say, well, we'll invent something. Well, we heard Gazprom. They have spoken about the training of their personnel, and RANEPA says that they have no people to teach. We have the problem of professional community. You know, first we were in the process of transformation. It is a very complex process in the system of education. It was the end of the 1990s and the early years of the century. It was the process of modernization. The market conditions are changing, supply and demand are changing.
And so it is very important that we understand that we, as the higher education system, have our own professional community, and this community consumes a great deal of graduates and resources. So today we meet our demand only by 15 or 20%, and we use vertical mobility systems, then postgraduates programs, then reproduction of our resources, human resources, and we are the biggest employer on our own. Higher school system now has more academic institutes, the Ministry of Education now sets the recommendations for us. They would like to see integration stronger, that young people opt for science. This process, including the digital transformation, has to be boosted, but this is a Machiavellian principle. No one wants to change on his own. I have a provocative suggestion, if I may. Thank you so much for your proposition. But you don't know what this proposition would be about, so I'd like to draw a classical example. When modernization was launched in 2005, we spoke about guest or visit professors. Now, these visit professors or guest professors, they're taking our jobs, and it means that we have to do more renewal. The transformation will take place with us or without us. It is very important for everyone to catch this transformation and to change yourself. Once a company, an example I'd like to draw, this is a classical example of how you do enter into the higher education system, how you embrace 1,200 universities existing in Russia. When the company asks you, may I have some extracurricular classes? Yes. May I have actually several computer classes? Yes, of course. And then it proposed the accounting classes to be held at school. And for instance, every school leaver may master this skill. The university system, the scientific system certainly has to feel this trend. The changes will take place anyway, with us, and I wish everyone to catch this trend, or without us. In terms of contradictions, on the one hand, we say that there is a shortage of personnel. On the other hand, there is a lot of personnel, but they are not educated well. So it means that if we improve the competences and skills, we'll improve the economy and the economic cycles. So let us give it a try. Let us switch to self-training, to the system of improving competences, and I'm speaking about universities and scientific organizations that are the institutions. So let us strengthen the partnership and the direction. Yes, Julia? So this is my brief idea and a very provocative one, with no offense, but Maria, I think, said a very interesting thing. Very soon, the lifespan will last for 100 years, and it means that people can be retrained as school teachers, etc. But I think that it would be great if the academy has people who provide not only theoretical knowledge, who would not just discuss what a computer is about, but who would provide leadership for a digital transformation. My provocative proposition would be as follows. The Ministry of Science should not be scared and should get some rectors of the leading universities and ask them to transform universities into something different. The problem of the education is about having it a little bit frozen. It is very slow to change, and it will not be changed by the people who do not know what they have to change. For instance, if Yelena Bunin is appointed director of one of the leading universities, I suspect that this university will become a leader of digital education for the rest of the country. So this is my provocative idea. So let us do some reshuffling, renew the composition of top managers of universities. So this is about brainstorming of some joint initiatives between business and the state. Marina? All the ideas about renewals, etc., are all interesting and are very much needed. We have a project. We have necessary tools for that. Such tools as, for instance, setting up labs, law 2018 or 2020, all the attempts to engage business into educational technology just failed. They work targetedly. When a teacher, a supervisor, accompanying his partner, actually has to spend a lot of efforts. So this is a technological cycle of training a school leaver of a graduate. This is a very long process. Supervision is a whole profession. Very late we understand that. So colleagues keep saying that if certain initiatives fail, so let us look for more initiatives which would fail, and it would be regarded as the guideline. When, for instance, we see Yandex, Sberbank, Mail, and other companies coming to us to share with the competences, 5 million school children made their first step towards digital economy. And it didn't cost too long, and so they did not leave. So next, our lesson would be about artificial intelligence. So we'll continue sharing our competences. So it means that colleagues offer a certain specific format. Probably there is another format we could embark on. It won't be a magic wand or a silver bullet, but it will help us to move forward faster. And you have to find leaders, the ones who would provide leadership, the ones who change the culture, and know that you cannot change the culture without changing management. So until Dukov ceased wearing on a tie, actually the whole Gazprom was stuck in 1990s, and until Gref infected the rest of Sberbank with his innovative ideas, Sberbank did not become innovative. Otherwise, digital economy is not imaginable. Thank you so much. Let me develop this idea, what Julie is speaking about. If several universities do some digitalization, then they would accumulate a lot of experience, and every employee, every teacher, every staff member could train others in digitalization once they experienced all the mistakes, ups and downs on his own. We are training graduates of the digitalization managers, and then they have to come to us either with a letter of attorney to get the certificate of advanced training. And we did everything possible in order to make it a civilized way, but still this was an enormous paper flow. And so our graduates said, what kind of transformation you are teaching us in once we have to sign a lot of papers? So without digital transformation of education, no digitalization of economy is possible. So this is our central message. Thank you so much. Thank you, dear colleagues. I apologize, but I do think that we went beyond all the time limits. So unfortunately, we have to drop a Q&A session, and so you can speak one-on-one. We don't have this luxury of time. Thank you so much.